he lost his voice. He's too busy shouting at all the MercuryPay staff. So
No worries.
yeah.
I just saw your the MercuryPay website. You guys just launched the thing like this few days, right? Or like last week? Am I right?
Launched the Beyond
Something
Payments.
new, right?
Yeah. So we've got a few new things coming up, which I'm sure we're going to get to anyway. So I think we're live now. So thanks again, Jun Yu, for joining us. Guys, welcome again to Beyond Payments, which is a program that MercuryPay is hosting every couple of weeks or every month to basically get everyone in the fintech community, both in Malaysia and outside of Malaysia, kind of talking about fintech more. It goes in line with MercuryPay's model of, not just seeing fintech as a payments related service, seeing something much broader and wider. So look, we've got a special guest today, Jun Yu from the Malaysian Youth Fintech Association. Welcome, Jun Yu.
Hi guys.
Tell us a bit about yourself, where you are, what you're doing, and how you got to this place as the head of the Malaysian Youth Fintech Association.
Sure, no worries. So hi guys, my name is Jun Yu. I'm actually doing my master's in financial technology right now at Imperial College London. And the reason why we have this the whole Malaysian Youth Fintech Association, because I co-founded with a few of my friends from my Imperial, and also from my my undergraduate university. And so because we feel like the whole fintech space is very new and young, and we really hope that we could create a platform that connects people who have passion in fintech to form like a global network, to let people talk to each other, to communicate around, to come up with some new ideas to really facilitate the whole fintech ecosystem in Malaysia. And this is why we came up with this, the whole fintech association. And I will say thank you very much for inviting me today.
No problem. Thanks. My apologies in advance for not having Joel on board. I know you guys are used to seeing his face. Joel has been too busy shouting at all of the MercuryPay staff this week, not working properly. So he lost his voice and as a result can't join us. No, but look, just to touch on what you said, I think it's incredible. I mean, I think fintech, it's great to have an association associated with youngsters in particular. I think a lot of people just think that youngsters are associated with the fintechs themselves, not necessarily part of the association of driving strategy and direction. One of the things that crossed our mind at MercuryPay was, how do you feel the fintech arena is at the moment? Are you happy with the current products and services available? What do you think of the fintech market at the moment?
Yep. Oh, well, I'll say I feel quite grateful to see like lots of fintech company and fintech ecosystem is growing rapidly in Malaysia, and lots of exciting new innovative products and services are being offered in the market right now. So I feel like yes, it's really great, but the whole fintech thing is very new, especially in Malaysia, in Southeast Asia. So there's still a lot of things to be improved that can be offered to the consumer. But in general, I would say it was really great. It was really great.
I think one of the interesting things, I guess, in where you are now, and where I've spent a bit of time in Western countries, I think the interaction of youngsters with fintech principles is significantly stronger. They get involved a bit more in the dynamics. They're more encouraged to start their own fintechs and startups, develop apps, things like that. And how do you think that can be, turned around in Southeast Asia? How do we get the youngsters and your generation in particular a bit more involved in the fintech ecosystem?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Rich. I think what we have to do is to really pass through the message of what fintech is, because it's lots of people that just think like, oh, fintech is about e-wallet, it's about touch and go e-wallet, QR payment, but it's beyond payment. It's more than that. It's more than just that. Well, for me, for our association, we always believe that fintech is more than just finance. It's beyond finance. It's beyond technology. It's a way of doing things. It's a way to challenge the status quo, to let people know that if you think that you can do it better, there's always a better way to do it. So I feel like in order to let people to jump into the whole fintech thing, is to really let people understand that what fintech can do to our world, to our daily life. What is the impact? So people will just think like, oh, we have e-wallet, it's very convenient, but with all the insert tag, with your P2P lending, it's actually a big change to how we live out our daily life. So I think it's very important that we can pass through this message to the young people to saying that fintech is more than just payment. It's a whole new way of living your life. So we have with your P2P crowdfunding, you can easily get your loans, alternative finance more easily with a cheaper option and stuff like that. So it's really to let people to really understand the whole fintech ecosystem.
I think that's interesting because, one of the things, and, you can see it in our name with MercuryPay, there's an automatic assumption sometimes with the fintech, I guess, attitude that everything goes back to payments. Everything goes back to how do you essentially spend money, right? And how do you make that process more slick, the life cycle shorter, more streamlined, etc. But one of the things we're seeing that's really interesting is people looking at more, how do you get more involved in investments? How do you get more involved in savings? How do you get more involved in insurance and things like that? So one of the things that's really interesting to us is obviously now being a student has changed to what it was, I guess, when I was a student. So on your day-to-day basis, I guess, how do you interact with fintech on a day-to-day basis, and what processes or what parts of your lifestyle would you like to see fintech much more involved in?
Well, to be honest, right now, I use like fintech products like neobanks to do my with my daily spending, and also some trading across the crypto market. But I feel like the reason why the investing space is booming right now is because, like all the young people, we all watch some videos, we have done some readings, and we all want to be some billionaire, millionaire, and the next Warren Buffett. So, and with all the regulated trading platform right now, it's very easy and very easy for people to really hop on the investment trend, because, and also with the P2P lending, you can just put in some money, like 500 ringgit or 1,000 ringgit. You don't need to be much, and you can like you can do your own investment plan, your own investment thing. So I will see this trend to be more growing rapidly in the future, because I feel like a lot of young people, we're actually shifting our fund allocation towards the investment side, because we want to grow our wealth, because we earn, we have like some we get like minimum pay wage. So we hope to do more investment to grow our fund, to grow our money. That's why I feel like the whole investing segment will grow like rapidly in the next 5 to 10 years.
Do you think that the investment companies in particular are targeting young people well enough? I mean, I think there's a couple of problems, and I think one is there's this assumption that young people don't necessarily know how to invest and save money, and that goes with the whole kind of student dynamic. And then there's the assumption that, we shouldn't really spend that much time focusing on a strategy towards young people, because eventually they're going to be older and they'll jump on whatever products we have. So I guess one of the things we're looking at is partnering up with companies that actually have the young, or the Gen Zs and the millennials, have their intentions at heart when developing their fintech. And that's not that easy to come across nowadays. You don't see that many companies kind of really targeting you guys. I mean, in your experience, I guess, in the UK or in the West, and even if you've had experience in Southeast Asia, do you find that a lot of these fintechs are just missing the boat with you guys, or they've just decided, it's no point really channeling our energies or marketing spend on the youngsters because they're not really going to give us that much return?
Well, that's a very good point. I'll say yes and no, because I do see like some of the company, like especially a lot of like wealth tech company with your robo advisor, this kind of stuff, they actually really lower down all the management fee, transaction fees, all the fees. So it's actually quite a convenient way for students with low amount of fund to be involved in the investment space, I will say. But yes, because I think a lot of companies, they are focusing more on like big player, big guy in the market. So like people who have earned like quite a lot of money. Yes, but I feel like that shouldn't be a problem. It's because in a later stage, when technology get more matured, you can actually do it in a more efficient, maybe lower down the cost even more. So I feel like this is a process that we have to get through it. We have to wait for a while, and before the stage gets to be mature and to be excellent. So I feel like it's a place that we all should work together. We shouldn't just be like, oh, the company is not focusing on the youth people, so we're just not gonna do anything. But I feel like the young people right now should just try out all the products and services that are being offered in the market to see which one suits you better. And in the future, when you get familiar with the technology, you essentially get involved in the fintech space even more. This is my personal opinion.
No, I like it because I think the other thing is if you just think about the word fintech itself, right? It's obviously you've got your financial and your technology side, and I think in the last 5 or 10 years, we've seen the space pretty much let technology drive everything, right? Yeah. And so if you look at people my age and older, it's using technology to make their life easier, as it were. But when I think about it from your point of view, you guys are actually more up to date maybe on the technology side than you are on the finance side. And it's a bit of a role reversal, right? Someone like me is probably more finance orientated than tech oriented, but someone like you may be more tech orientated than finance orientated. So I think one of the things that we've seen is really understanding that the finance side can't also be ignored. And I guess that leads me into my next question, which is the youth of today. How financially literate do you think they are? Are they well aware of the ins and outs of managing their finances and how is the best way of optimizing that? Or is there sole reliance on the technology to help them to get through that?
I think yes. I think like the level of literacy, financial literacy for the youth today is very, very low. Because I've seen a lot of people who spend more than what they earn and they can't even survive on savings beyond 1 month. So this is because no formal education on financial literacy at school, and some parents they don't even teach, and some of them they just don't know how to teach their children as well. And this is why we have the whole national strategy for financial literacy that has been implemented by our ex-Prime Minister in 2019, I believe. Yep. And of course, with all the buy now, pay later, you have your Hula, your Split, and this is the kind of environment that I think I'm not really a big fan of, like buy now, pay later, because from a more traditional family, I feel like if you don't have the money, you just don't get it. But with all the Hula, Split, buy now, pay later, so we tend to really creating like a bad debt culture in the youth segment. So it's very low. And yeah, sorry. And this is, I think this is my thought.
And how do you think companies like, I guess, MercuryPay and other fintechs out there can help educate or at least help bring a higher level of literacy to your generation? Because I think it's important to understand why you're using the products, right? It's not just about throwing a product in front of someone and saying, look, it's good, it will be good for you, just go with it. I think you really need to educate them and understand that. And I think one of the missions and one of the goals that you guys have at the Malaysia Youth Fintech Association probably should be to bring people on board and help them navigate that financial process. And then guys like us come in and help complement it with tech. So do you think that, are there any specific areas, or is there things that you think companies like ours should be focusing on to kind of make the youngsters more financially literate?
Yep. Just from your previous question, I think like all the young people right now, we tend to rely on technology. Because, like 10 years ago, we might have to keep all our receipts and write it on books, like how much we spent today. But right now, with our e-wallets, with all the financial management tools, what we can do is just like simply just pay with the e-wallets, and the e-wallet will just like capture every payment that you have. And then even like categorize with for you, like how much you spend on food, how much you spend on entertainment, how much you spend on transport, all these things. So I feel like what the fintech company can do is that to really push around the message, like, or to maybe to have a features to let the consumer, to let the user to maybe help them to better manage their asset. Because I know that lots of platform or app products, they have this kind of like innovative analytical tools to help you to monitor your spending, help monitor your investment, your returns, your cost or whatever. So, and this type of technology really helps the young people to manage our asset, our money. So I feel like for fintech company perspective, right, what they can do is try to have some cool features because young people right now, they are lazy. So if you just expecting them to put in their spending hands by hands, they're probably not going to do it. So be more innovative, have more automated way to capture all the spending behavior to let them know that, hey, your spending behavior, if you continue to spend like this, you won't be able to reach the end of the month, things like this. So this kind of stuff, yeah.
I think it's interesting because like when you go on YouTube now or any social media, you see loads of kind of 2-minute videos about how to invest in crypto or how to make $1 million in 5 days or something like that, right? And it's very distorted towards. It's kind of misleading to a lot of youngsters because they straight away want to jump on that bandwagon and they're straight away reaching to get huge profits without really understanding the base of investing, saving, using technology and those things. And I hate it. I mean, I'm on YouTube a lot and I see a lot of guys just throwing propaganda really out there and trying to manipulate the youngsters into doing that. And one of the things that we think is really important is obviously that education process, so ensuring people know why they're using certain technologies, what's the benefit for them, what's the potential risks, understanding their holistic financial makeup. And one of the things that's really interesting to us is, I guess, when you're earning, when you're in your 30s or you're in your late 20s and you're earning a reasonable amount of money and you're thinking about buying a car or a house or whatever, there's products out there already that help you kind of navigate that space. And I guess the products themselves sell themselves. But for someone like you who potentially is going to finish your university and go into the working world and your generation, I mean, what type of products do you see in the market at the moment to help you, if any? And what type of products do you really want to see? Do you want to see the type of products that help you save? Do you want to see investment products? Do you want to see more products that help you manage your student finances, pay your student debt? What type of thing interests you?
I think like in terms of products right now, as a fresh graduate to enter the workforce, I feel like the investing products is the one that I feel like most of the young people are looking for. Because for savings, right, we all know that if you want to save your money, just go to the bank, open up a bank account, put your money in, put in your fixed deposit or normal current account, saving account or whatever. But for investing, because we have the thoughts that like 10, 15 years ago, you want to invest, you want to buy a mutual fund, stock or whatever, you need to have a sum of money. You need to drive your car to your local branch, walk in with your branch manager, look for a financial planner or whatever, and put your money in like, this is my 50,000 ringgit. But right now with but since technology is advancing right now, so I feel like the investment side is a very important part because a lot of students who want to invest, but they just don't have the chance and they don't know how. And this is where I feel like the technology can come into play and help out young people like us who will just enter the workforce to really help us throughout the whole process of investing and maybe give us a guideline or maybe have a tool to help us to better manage, better invest, better to set out our risk tolerance or whatever and things like this. And I feel like the current product right now, and we have seen a lot of like robo advisors that have done a pretty good job right now. But it's just that I feel like in the future, we can have more of that, more lower fee, higher efficiency, and things like this.
Now, the question I've been dying to ask you since I found out that you were in London and you're setting up essentially an Asian association in London, and for me it's kind of the reverse because I came to Asia. I was from London and I came to Asia and seen it. One of the things that's kind of interesting to me is the way culturally fintech is looked at depending on where you are in the world. So when I came to Asia, I was like, wow, everyone's using tech to like pay for stuff, and you've got touch and go, and you've got Grab, and you've got this and that, blah, blah, blah. Yep. But then I realized that there's a huge disparity between the two parts of society, in terms of inclusivity. So you've got people in the kind of small towns and villages who are maybe not as up to date. but then you've got everyone in the urban centers who are just using fintech kind of part of their day-to-day process. But in Western culture, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's slightly different because I guess they have the mechanism for all of them. It's definitely pushes more inclusivity, but people are slightly more hesitant to use it as profoundly as they do in Asia. Is that something that you've noticed, or has it changed?
Well, to be fair with you, I don't really notice that. So I can't really give like an exact answer to your question. But I do agree with you, like the whole fintech ecosystem in like the Europe and the Asia side is very, very much different, but I can't really answer your question with that.
No, fair enough. I mean, the only reason I asked the question is because when I speak to my friends in London, they're like, oh, I still just rather deal with cash, or, only with COVID coming in, it's accelerated a bit. But I still think there's a bit of detachment in terms of, they're a bit more technophobic in those areas than they are in Asia.
Yeah.
And that's just because they don't churn technology that much. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to ask you. We've got a question from Lydia, which is really related to you talking about your interest in neobanks, because obviously they're not as mature. It's not as mature a market in Asia as it is in the UK. So here we go. What do you think about the disruption of current fintech players in Malaysia? Will the Malaysia traditional banks be replaced in the future, such as digital banks like Monzo, Revolut, neobanks, things like that?
Well, thanks, Lydia, for your question. That's actually a very, very interesting question. I don't think that the big banks in Malaysia will be replaced, or to be honest, I don't think like the big banks all around the world will be replaced by fintech or digital banks. Banks needs to be there to do their own things, to support the high net worth customer, to do their trading, to do their consumer banking, retail banking, and all that stuff. But it's just that the disruption is coming into play. It's disrupting the bank in various ways, in lending space, wealth space, payment space, because when we use e-wallet, we tend to just when we're using e-wallet to make payment, right? So the bank, the purpose of the bank is just for us to top up our e-wallet. And this is a disruption that is hitting the bank. And for P2P lending space, when we normally we will go to a bank to ask for a loan for our car, but right now, what we can do is just sit at our home, look for alternative financing option, get a cheaper finance, more efficient finance. But that doesn't mean that the banks loses all their business. It's just that the banks need to find a way to really work with the fintech company and really hop on the digital trend, especially when we've seen especially with the pandemic, the digital shift has been accelerated by the pandemic because people just don't use cash anymore. People don't go out to go to a bank. So this is the type of thing that the bank should really try to get on, but that doesn't mean that they will get replaced.
No, I agree. And I think one of the things that came out of our conversation last week with the Fintech Association Malaysia was there needs to be collaboration at a government level with the banks and the smaller players as well, so that everyone is pushing in the same direction as opposed to kind of being hostile. So I think that's definitely something that you guys at Malaysian Youth Fintech Association should be pushing that agenda. How do we collaborate with the government? How do we, get the exchange of ideas properly? I guess that brings me on to my next question from Joe, which is, so what's the actual mission and strategy of the Malaysian Youth Fintech Association?
So the strategy, well, I would say our vision is to really bring in technological innovation ideas to the Malaysian youth community, because the whole technology or fintech tech, the whole development is very slow compared to other countries, and we are actually kind of slow compared to the European side. So we really hope to connect students who have overseas exposure in the Western country, like in US, UK, where the technology is like on the next level. So we really hope to bring in those people to really connect them with the local Malaysian youth, to really facilitate the whole fintech ecosystem in the sense that to boost up their technology knowledge. Because I feel like if you just stay in Malaysia and the exposure that you'll get is kind of low.
Limited, yeah.
That's why we really hope to have students help out each other to let those people who don't have a chance to study overseas, who don't have the chance to, who do not do their degrees in tech or finance, to have a significant level of knowledge about how fintech, tech, how finance works. And this is our vision and our goal.
No, brilliant answer. I think one of the things and one of the reasons we created these dialogues for Beyond Payments was to help bring communities. We essentially want fintech communities to come together, and those can be global communities, they can be local communities, but essentially, fintech only progresses and meets actual client and merchant needs when you have that discourse and you have that exchange of ideas and everyone is kind of playing from the same level playing field. I think look, we covered a lot today, and Jun Yu is definitely going to be a part of future dialogues with us. So, I'd like to thank you for joining us. I think it's been brilliant. I'd also advise any of you who are in that youth space, right? I don't want to define it by age, but in that youth space, definitely reach out to Jun Yu. His details are going to be on the post, and the Malaysian Youth Fintech Association, because I think they're doing fantastic stuff. And as I mentioned earlier, I think it's about collaboration. It's about getting ideas in sync with each other, and pushing forward for greater goals. Just on that note, Jun Yu, we've got one last question for you, and I'll let you say a bit about how people can get in contact with you as well after that. What do you think is the biggest challenge for fintech startups in Malaysia?
The lack of talent. Well, because because, to be honest with you, people talented young people, they just want to go big corporate company. We all want to join PwC, we want to join EY, we want to join CMB, Maybank, Citibank, HSBC, but no one's really looked at the fintech space. And I feel like this is a reason why we are scaling so slow. Because if you think if the company can't get good candidates, how can they scale up in the very And this is the reason why we created this Malaysian Youth Fintech Association, because we really hope to pass around the message to the young people, saying that, hey, this company is new, it's young, it's small, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't look into it. Because if you look at Shopee in 5 years ago, you wouldn't expect they are growing, they will be this big right now. So we really, really hope that we can let people to realize that, I should join a company with big potential, with huge potential in the future, but not just I want to work with big banks, big corporates, because this is the reason why we really hope to bring in talent to the fintech space and try to work with the fintech companies, try to form partnership with them, and try to act as a talent pool to really help the fintech company to bring in some talent for their future expansions or whatever. I
agree with that, and I think it's important to realize that fintech in itself is it's becoming its own traditional industry, and people need to not see it as a kind of side thing more than the big banks, the Maybanks, the CIMBs, or whatever. And I think that's a really important thing. So I'd advise people seeking jobs, or who've got interest in fintech, to definitely look for jobs in that space with some of the niche companies. Just on that note, actually, since we're talking about that, you studied fintech, and a lot of our audience are students as well, and they want to know how would you relate that studying of fintech to the current fintech ecosystem? Has it helped you? Do you think it's a course worth doing? Do you think it's worth exploring?
Well, definitely. Because the whole fintech course is consists of the finance part, also the technology part. But I feel in order to excel in the fintech space, you don't really have to study fintech course. All you need to do is do more research, case studies, read more articles about it, because I feel there are two types of different people. The one type is I want to own my startup. I want to build my machine learning model to build some excellent algorithmic model or whatever. And these type of people, yes, you should go and study some tech course or maybe fintech course. But for people who want to involve in the fintech space, but don't really want to involve in like a lot of like technical stuff. Like if you want to be a strategist consultant that consult on fintech space, you don't really need to have a like fintech degree or whatsoever, but you do need to have a good fundamental of how technology works. And from that point, you can start to build up your fintech knowledge in doing more research, more studies, reach out to fintech practitioners, reach out to people like Joel and Rich to learn more about how fintech really works. And this concludes everything. So I feel like to be involved in the fintech space doesn't mean that you need to know about technology, you need to know how to code Java, Python, or all these things. All you need to have is the broad network, is the people that work around the fintech space, so that you can get some latest news, some latest technologies. And this is what makes it more very important to be involved in this space, I'll say.
No, brilliant. Just a few more questions. We've been suddenly getting an influx of questions. I'll answer one of them and I'll let you give your view as well. So Alia has asked, what is the biggest challenge for fintech startups in Malaysia? Having worked in that space now for a couple of years, I feel the biggest challenge is actual transparency and structure, infrastructures. So, understanding the best way to go to market, getting government involvement, getting traction with marketing, with regulators, things like that. I think for me, that's one of the biggest challenges with startups in Malaysia is the incubator system is there, but it's not as dynamic or as developed as it is in other countries. And I'm sure you have a view on that. And the other challenge I see is just getting good personnel. Me as the founder, I want good co-founders, right? And that was a bit tricky for me in Malaysia. What's your view on that?
I definitely agree with you. And this is why we have this the whole fintech association, because we're trying to help out each other to find the good co-founders, like you said, because we want to connect people who have passion in fintech, So definitely agree with you, Rich.
Okay, cool. Look, final two questions, which I'm going to combine because I think it's kind of the same thing. From Jin Lee and from Gudako. I'll let you answer first, and I'll give my view. So,
Yep.
What's your motivation for continue working in fintech? That's one. And the second is, do you think fintech is going to be the norm for the next few years, or do you think its bubble will subside soon?
Sure. So, I think the answer is very obvious. My motivation to continue to work in the fintech space is because the fintech will be the norm in the next 5 to 10 years, and it has a huge potential. So why should I constrain myself to not working in an industry that will be the future of the world? And fintech has a lot of potential, and it is more than what we have seen in the market right now, especially when blockchain comes into play. And we all know about blockchain. Bitcoin is very amazing, but it's just like the 20% of it. When you go out when you unlock the full potential of blockchain, when you connect everyone in the world with blockchain, with technology, we can create something that never seen in this world. And this is why my motivation of working in fintech space is interesting. It's a huge potential in the future, and we all should get involved at least with the fintech products or services, because this will be the future.
Yeah, I think we should embrace it. I think just to add on, Jin Lee, who asked the question, my main source of motivation was I worked in traditional banking for a long time, and I saw that the evolution of products and services was pretty, it just wasn't that fast, right? And big banks and traditional industries are keen to protect their customer base and their product base, and that means sometimes they don't evolve as fast as you can. So my motivation of working in fintech and continuing to work is, I think, is moving at a rapid pace. And what we define fintech as now, in terms of as we've talked about today, payments, etc., is going to just explode in the next 1 or 2 years. I think it's going to be much more all encompassing. I think COVID has accelerated that. I also think that the bubble is just going to continue to grow. And instead of seeing it as a product which you can add on to make your lifestyle or your life slightly better, I think it will just integrate seamlessly and you won't even think of it that way. I think it will just be, it will just become routine. It will become, part of your day-to-day actions, part of your day-to-day belief. So that's a bit on my side on that. Just want to firstly thank everyone for dropping their questions. I think it's really, really important that you guys get involved. I just also want to thank Jun Yu so much, because it's great to have your involvement and your aspect from the youth side. I know you guys talk about this a lot. I know you guys are planning some big things on your side. So for anyone out there who wants to get in contact with Jun Yu, we'll give you his contact details after that. Jun Yu, any parting words, anything you want to say?
No, I'll just thank you for everyone for joining this session, and I hope that we have provided you some very useful information. Otherwise, just reach out to me or Rich or Joel, anyone who work in the fintech space, and I believe that people are very helpful. You can just reach out to them and talk to them, and they will give you a lot more information if you feel like it. And thank you for the shout out, Rich. Anyone who are in the call right now, share this news, and who are interested in joining fintech space, let us know. We are more than happy to have a chat with you.
Brilliant. No, thank you, Jun Yu, again. Just for those of you in the crowd, look, we're going to be running these sessions every 2 weeks. We're definitely going to have Jun Yu back. We're going to let him study for a while first. and then we're probably going to get him back in a couple of months, and we'll probably have a much more specific topic regarding fintech and maybe even get some of the other fintech, so Youth Fintech Association guys on board. So thank you so much. Thanks for everyone in the crowd, and see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much, Rich. See you
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.